They say the truth will set you free, but they never mention that it usually burns the house down first. For 40 years, I was the perfect wife. I was the woman behind the man, the one who polished Howard's image until it shone like a trophy. We were the couple everyone envied in our small town, the high school sweethearts who built a real estate empire, raised 3 beautiful children, and maintained a lawn so green it looked painted. But last Thursday, as the steam rose off the 20-pound turkey and my children sat around the mahogany table with their own families, I realized that I couldn't swallow one more bite of the lies we'd been feeding them for decades. My name is Evelyn. This is spilled at dinner. And believe me, what I spilled last Thanksgiving wasn't just the Cabernet. It was a secret that had been rotting in the foundation of our home since 1985. To understand why I did, you have to understand Howard. Howard is a man of principles. He's the kind of father who lectured our sons, David and Michael, about integrity every single morning. He's the man who told our daughter, Claire, that a woman's greatest asset is her reputation. He was the pillar of the community, the deacon at the church, the man who held the keys to half the commercial property in the county. But Howard has a shadow, a very long one. And for 40 years, I stayed in that shadow just to keep him warm. The discovery happened 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. I was looking for some old photo albums in the crawl space under the stairs, the kind of place where memories go to gather dust. I found a metal lockbox tucked behind a stack of tax returns from the 90s. I thought it was just more business documents. But when I managed to pry it open, I didn't find contracts. I found a series of bank transfer receipts, spanning for decades, and a stack of letters tied with a simple rubber band. The receipts were for a monthly payment of $3,000, sent to an account in a name I didn't recognize, Margaret Wells. At first, I thought the worst. I thought Howard had a mistress. The classic cliche, isn't it? The successful man with the secret apartment and the younger woman. But as I read the letters, the truth was much more sinister and much more heartbreaking. Margaret Wells wasn't a mistress. She was the sister of a man named Elias Thorne. If that name sounds familiar to anyone in the Pacific Northwest real estate world, it's because Elias Thorne was Howard's business partner in the early 80s. He was also the man who supposedly walked away from the business and disappeared after a tragic accident that left him incapacitated. The letters told a different story. Howard hadn't just built our empire, he had stolen it. He had framed Elias for embezzlement to force him out, and when Elias threatened to go to the police, Howard had made a deal with Margaret to keep Elias in a private care facility far away, funded by the company's profits in exchange for her silence. But that wasn't even the secret that broke me. The secret that broke me was a birth certificate tucked at the very bottom of the box. It was a birth certificate for our oldest son, David. All these these years, Howard had treated David like the golden child, the biological heir to the throne. He had been hard on him, pushing him to be a real man. But the certificate showed that David wasn't Howard's son. He was Elias's. Howard had married me while I was pregnant with another man. Child a man. He had destroyed Anne. He had spent 40 years using that child as a pawn in his own twisted game of power. He had kept David's true identity from him, from me, and from the world, all while paying hush money to the only person who knew the truth. He didn't marry me out of love. He married me to own the last piece of Elias Thorne's legacy. So, Thanksgiving arrived. The house smelled of rosemary and sage. David was there with his wife and their 2 little boys. Michael was complaining about his latest investment, and Claire was showing off her engagement ring. Howard was at the head of the table, carving the turkey with surgical precision, looking every bit the proud patriarch. He stood up to give a toast, his voice booming with that false sincerity I had grown to loathe. "I am so thankful," he began, "for the strength of this family. For the legacy we've built on honesty, hard work, and loyalty." I felt a physical sickness rising in my throat. I looked at David, my sweet, hard-working David, who had spent his whole life trying to earn the approval of a man who secretly despised his very existence. I looked at the wine glass in my hand. My hand was shaking. I didn't even realize I was doing it until the glass tipped. The deep red liquid splashed across the white-laced tablecloth, spreading like a bloodstain right toward Howard's plate. "Oh, Evelyn," Howard sighed, his voice dripping with patronizing disappointment. "You're getting clumsy in your old age. Someone get a cloth." "I'm not clumsy, Howard," I said. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the room like a whistle. The table went silent. "I'm just tired of the stains. I'm tired of trying to wash out the things you've done." "Mom, what are you talking about?" Claire asked, her brow furrowed. I looked Howard dead in the eye. He knew. In that split second, he saw the lockbox in my mind. His face turned a shade of gray I will never forget. "Sit down, Evelyn," he hissed. "You've had too much to drink." "I haven't had enough to drink to forget Margaret Wells," I said. The name hit him like a physical blow. Or Elias Thorne. Or the fact that you've been paying $3,000 a month for 40 years to keep your partner in a cage while you sat in his chair. David stood up. "Who is Elias? Thorne? Dad, what is she talking about?" Howard tried to laugh it off. That booming, fake laugh. "Your mother is confused, son. She found some old business papers and she's spinning a fantasy. Evelyn, let's go to the kitchen." "No," I said, standing up. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the folded birth certificate. I didn't give it to Howard. I walked around the table and handed it to David. Read the father's name, David. Read the date. And then ask your father why he spent 40 years telling you that you had to be just like him when he knew you were the son of the man he ruined. The chaos that followed is hard to describe. It wasn't like the movies where people scream and throw things. It was a cold, suffocating silence followed by a million questions that Howard couldn't answer. David didn't even finish reading before he walked out of the house. He didn't take his coat. He just left. Michael and Claire were stunned, looking at Howard as if he were a stranger, which, in a way, he was. Howard didn't apologize. He didn't beg for forgiveness. He just sat there, looking at the spilled wine on the tablecloth, and said, "I did it for this family. I did it to give you everything." "No," I told him, as I started packing my bags that same night. "You did it for the mirror. You did it so you could look at yourself and see a king, even if the crown was stolen from a dying man's head. The family is in shambles now." David is in contact with Margaret Wells, trying to find the father he never knew he had. Michael and Claire are barely speaking to Howard. And me. I'm in a small apartment by the coast. It's quiet here. There are no mahogany tables, no manicured lawns, and no secrets hidden under the stairs. People ask me if I regret ruining Thanksgiving. They ask me why I couldn't have just pulled him aside privately. But they don't understand. A lie that big, a lie that spans 40 years and involves the very blood in your children's veins, isn't something you whisper about in a hallway. It's something that needs to be spilled out in the open, where the light can finally reach it. The dinner was ruined, yes, but for the first time in my life, I can sit at a table and breathe. I lost my house, my status, and my perfect marriage. But I found my son's truth, and I found my own voice. Howard is still in that big, empty house, sitting at the head of a table where nobody else wants to sit. He has his money, and he has his legacy. But he finally knows what it feels like when the wine is gone. The guests have left, and all that's left is the stain. If you re-watching this and you re-carrying a secret that's eating your family from the inside out, let me tell you something. The truth is a fire. Going to hurt. It's going to destroy the things you thought were stable. But once the smoke clears, you'll finally see who is still standing by your side. And those are the only people who matter anyway. Thanks for listening to What Was Spilled at My Dinner. I'll see you in the next story.